All right, let's make some wavetables in Serum. Hey, so something I've been doing a little bit of in the past week or two is making my own wavetables in Serum. And I've been doing this because I want to start using them in other sounds, but I'm just creating this library of interesting textures and kind of just experimenting and playing around with what wavetables can sound like. And I thought I'd show you what I've been playing with. So there's not really anything particular we're going to make today, except we're going to experiment and do some sound design and come up with some sort of crazy new wavetable we can use in future sound design sessions. Let's hop into Serum and make some wavetables. So here's Serum, and here's one of the wavetables I made recently, psychotic acid. And I really like that. It's got a really psychotic acid vibe. And I've paired it with this Purple Motion 2 wavetable that I also made. Which is just a whole other texture. And when you combine the two, you wind up with this. And I've really been enjoying just making wavetables for things like that. Here's another preset that I made out of my own wavetables. And I really like the texture of that. I think it sounds great. We could beef that up with some unison, maybe an odd number of voices. But yeah, I really like the sound of that. I think it sounds great. So let's make a new wavetable and then maybe make a patch out of it. Let's see how we go though. We're going to initialize the preset. So we're going to start off with a saw because it's full spectrum and it's just going to sound pleasant but flat. Here's what it sounds like. So, you know, it's okay, but very synthetic. Let's try using some of these warp modes. I really like the warp modes for starting off with resampling because you get a variation in the sound, but it doesn't impact the phase or kind of make things too weird. Maybe bend isn't that great. I'm just going to scan through until I find something cool. Maybe asymmetrical. Yeah, mirror sounds cool. All right, so let's set up an LFO on that. So we're going to use an LFO that goes all the way from the bottom to all the way to the top. We're going to set it to happen over a bar, and we're going to set it to triggered mode. So it always starts at the bottom and goes to the top. Here's what that sounds like now mapped to the warp mode. And that's pretty okay. This sound is going to get more interesting as we go along, but I like how it's got that rippy tearingness to it. Let's resample that into oscillator A and see what happens. So we go to menu and resample to oscillator A. So now because it's going through the same warp mode again, it's having a really pronounced effect on the sound. We can kind of just move things around until we get something maybe less sync sounding. We bring that all the way to bring the modulation all the way down. We can put the LFO amount on the wavetable position as well. You can hear that we're getting all sorts of like movement in there because we've got the original warping happening and then we've got more of the same type of warping happening. I really like that. There's a couple of really nice modulations in there. Let's resample that again. All right, so I want to change the warp mode at this point, and maybe we'll just have it off for a second so we can hear what the wavetable actually sounds like. You can hear that we've kind of like lost a bit of the low end to it. We can kind of like resample the sub back in to this sound. Yeah, cool. I think a square actually sounds really nice on that. So let's resample that back in. So it's got all of the modulations that we've built in our original resampling, but we've also got the sub from the sub. Turn off the sub again. in here that we've got like a really rich sound. If we give that a little bit of unison, yeah, we could build all sorts of sounds off this. Like we could have like just a nice little res. We could kind of change this modulation rate so that it's a lot faster. Bring this back so it's just kind of a wobble. Not that fast. What I'm doing here is just scanning for a nice part of the wave where something interesting pops out. I feel like we're getting some interesting stuff happening there. Let's kind of just wobble the low pass filter a little bit. And you can hear that we're already kind of down the rabbit hole of off doing sound design. So I really like that technique for just coming up with like interesting core oscillator sounds to kind of inspire other sounds. What we can do is save that wavetable. So we'll hit save on that, and we can call that unison squares, even though that's not what it really was, but we'll save that there. And then we've got that wavetable available for other projects. Let's go through and make another one, and we'll start from something a little bit different this time. We'll init this. We've got a sawtooth again, and maybe this time we'll try some filtering. I really like notch filters on sawtooths. I feel like they just sound boss. Let's set up our LFO again. So we're going from bottom to the top over a bar, and we trigger it. So that already sounds like it's got that like psychedelic flangey thing going on. Maybe we can try some additional effects. Like we could put a another filter on that, and we could have it maybe do another notch that goes in the opposite direction. That will give us like a really variable wavetable. Let's resample that into A. And then we'll set up the LFO on the wavetable position. You can see that we're getting the same filter movements over the already processed sound. So let's move these around a little bit so they don't hit the exact same frequencies at the exact same time. And one of the other things we can do is we can jump into the wavetable editor. And I don't always do this, but it's probably a good practice. Remove the DC offset, and you can either set them all to crossfade or other options in here. I'm going to normalize each gain separately, so that just makes them all as loud as they can be without any kind of thinking about the overall volume. So it might cause things to sound a bit unnatural if like a very quiet wavetable gets suddenly pulled up. In our case, we're not processing things that much, so it doesn't matter. Maybe crossfade them, not really too big a deal. And here we've got the other filters on top again. Let's resample that again, and then we'll get rid of those. So we'll resample to B this time. So then we've got options. Let's turn off A. We'll turn off the filter, turn off the effect filter. And we'll reprocess this again. So we want to remove DC offset, then normalize each, and then maybe crossfade them. And let's hop out. So without any modulation, we've just got this like clicky, buzzy sound. So here it's a really smooth wavetable we've got there. I really like some of the crackle there. Let's get rid of this notch filter, and we'll use a low pass. But we'll turn the drive all the way up, so we'll try and get that crackle to really pop out. Maybe we need to bring the cutoff up a bit. Cool. So if we put an LFO on the wavetable position and just nudge it into that crackling zone. Maybe slow it down a little. Maybe find a different region. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. That through some distortion is going to sound ace. Let's we'll go with like cross shaper because I really like it. It's essentially just wave shaping. We can re-employ this effect filter on that. Maybe we'll put it on a low pass. We will remove LFO1 from that. Now that low pass is kind of like controlling a little bit of the distortion from the distortion. So in here we've got this like really like rich, distorted, messed up thing out of our like reasonably pure wavetable. We can still continue to like modulate this wavetable position. But you can see, like, trying to create an interesting wavetable just drives you in these sound design directions, which you might not necessarily start down without just trying to start something from scratch in the first place. I'm going to save that one. So this is a tricky one. This is like notch saws. And of course, the other like fun thing with wavetables is that you can take any sound that you've made recently. So here's this one. And then just swap out one of your wavetables for another one of your wavetables. And you tend to just get really interesting stuff. Yeah, like to me, that sounds great. I would happily resample that into a sampler and then pitch bend it and wind up with a really crazy bass. So that's what I wanted to show you today, just making wavetables in Serum. It's heaps of fun and it leads you in all sorts of crazy directions really quickly. I hope you enjoy. All right, well, that was a look into how I've been making my own wavetables lately. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a thing or two, and let me know in the comments how you felt, and I'll see you in the next video.